another one, another immersion. We just wrapped up from this immersion of 5 days together with a lot of newcomers. And it was very interesting to see the theme reflected on the immersion itself. How did this theme come about? How did it emerge for you?
Well, to be perfectly honest, this time around I came completely, as it were, open to a possibility for anything just to unroll. And as you well aware that very often we have particular themes kind of almost thought through in advance so as to anchor those who would come into these programs into certain teachings, into certain perspectives, understandings, and therefore we come up with the theme, we come up with the, it also helps us to put the word out. But this time around, I consciously decided that I'm just going to arrive, greet everyone, and see what will unfold in a given moment in time. And when we sat for the first time, that first evening, and I saw that there are so many new faces, new people, and it was absolutely wonderful, of course, and it was great to have the team, right? It was great to have some of the Sangha, so it was this, how shall we say it, a mixed crowd. So where to go from there, right? I was fully aware that people came from different walks of life with different experiences, different understandings, and something rose there and then on the spur of the moment that perhaps we should speak to that quite polemized topic of disidentifying with this manifestation, disidentifying with this personality, individuality, with all these traits, a kind of a staple spiritual conversation, and being fully aware that there is still a lot of, I would say, misconception about role, place, and purpose of this individuality. I felt it would be fitting theme to oscillate between what the process of disidentification is and what do we identify with instead, because just disidentifying, just discarding this, let's say, temporal, finite manifestation that we all know that is just a here for a time being and then it's gone. So in other words, from the point of view of all perennial traditions, it's open to so many different interpretations, and some of these interpretations that this embodiment, this, let alone the storyline of so-and-so, holds no relevance, holds no place, holds no importance. And I felt that maybe it would be good to give it that perspective through the prism of understanding that the Shaiva Tantra of Kashmir Shaivism operates, where the individuality itself is not what it seems. That individuality itself is, in fact, where God, as it were, is hidden. And this hiding in the world, in the individual, is not some form of an error, calamity, or some kind of mistake on the part of the Creator. But it's a conscious act to undergo such tremendous degree of contraction. And yet, within that contraction, there is this immediate possibility for self-rediscovery. Therefore, I thought that this is where the dialogue will unroll. And I got very, very, as you witnessed yourself, excited as the days went on to go into this theme, to revisit it, to give it this angle, that angle, to, well, first of all, to reevaluate and to re-examine what is the individual, who is individual here, does it have any agency of its own, and if we are to disidentify, can it be disidentified without actual something which is impossible because the sense of identity is in the very nature of consciousness. In the very nature of consciousness. So therefore, in order to disidentify from the temporal, there has to be conscious identity with that which is permanent, infinite. And that's where the dance kind of began. That's where the discourse was born. So I found it to be very also encouraging because of the response of all the retreat attendees and discussion and dialogue that generated.
To me, it was impressive that there were people coming from also various practices, and some of them had been, from this perspective, a little bit more of the more universal view, or the discarding of the individuality. And it was so beautiful to see their integration of all of these things that they have been studying about, and now actually embodied and naturally coming in a very visceral way, actually. It was surprising to me. Just newcomers and people really submerged in these themes, experiencing everything anew.
Well, of course, the theme itself is quite, I would say, it has these dimensions that it's easy to slip into any of the extremes of understanding to settle on. And I felt this will be a very interesting and actually welcoming opportunity to bring this together, to bring together that iconic expression, that Jiva is Shiva, right? This individual is absolute. This temporal is totality. And not only that, what I felt even more important is to draw the attention to the sheer impossibility of actually experiencing totality for what it is, because totality is not an object of experience, it's an eternal subject. So the value of absolute can only be actually cognized, actualized, savored and experienced through the value of an individual. And to me, this is the true essence of all truly non-dual traditions, where the individuality is being fully integrated rather than in an act of disintegration discarded, often in the manner of discarding the baby with the bathtub water. So this is why I felt that there was this element of novelty to the theme. And of course we will begin sharing these videos in the coming weeks. The team will be working, because we have a lot of new material which I don't think we have released prior to that. So I think it will definitely contribute to that general dialogue. Certainly will contribute to what we already have been addressing over the years. And so it's like it was very, very enjoyable and very engaging. That the fact that it brought so many very interesting questions and angles, and that showed that this must have been a hot topic.
Yes, and perhaps also evolving in your own in your own teaching and the whole history of your teaching?
Well, certainly, yes, I should hope so. I truly hope that there is this also natural evolution, you know, and all teaching is subject to some adjustments, further evaluations. I can see that in myself, I can see that in others. I can see that in peers in the field, how maybe some of the perspectives were expressed in a much more categorical way in the past, and it's always heartwarming to see how it's becoming more all-embracing, and kind of like the edginess kind of is given maybe a greater possibility for reflecting it from other perspective, which still leads to that perennial truth, the perennial truth of unity of all with all. And then, of course, this individuality certainly plays this very, very important role, because that's, as has been said, is where God hiding and God discovering herself, itself, himself.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
It was
Vamadeva.
greatly enjoyable experience. So looking forward to some more.
Yes, we all too. Thank you.